So I'm here with Germaine Guy, who is a keeper from out of Florida, out of Cape Coral, Florida, and he's with Shovel Nose Hogs. Is it just you on your team, or do you have a little group? Or
Oh, it's just me.
how about your significant other? Did she help you out, or
Not really. She doesn't. She puts up with the snakes, but she doesn't mess with them at all.
That's awesome. So it's all your thing. That's awesome. So I mentioned Cape Coral, Florida. You just had a hurricane roll through your area a couple weeks ago. How did that affect the animals?
So I was kind of expecting the worst.
Hmm.
Like we discussed before, I'm originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, so I've dealt with hurricanes. 2016, we had like it wasn't even a hurricane; it was just a lot of water, and a lot of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, got flooding, and
Hmm.
my house ended up getting like 3 or 4 feet of flooding. So I'm
Hmm.
like, I already know what the deal was. So I was like, okay. I fed my snakes, knowing the hurricane was going to come, and I just put all my snakes in deli cups and put them at the top of a closet,
Hmm.
just in case it was flooding, because the area that I live in is in a flood zone. I put my racks on my work table, and I just hope for the best. So I
Oh
kind of
man.
knew, like I was preparing for the worst. I've already done this
Yeah.
before. I just want my snakes to be good, and I
Yeah.
already knew that I was gonna lose power. So I was like, I'm probably just gonna have to throw away my mice and stuff like that, which isn't a big deal if that's the worst
Right.
case scenario. And so that's what happened. I got a direct hit, 140 mile per hour winds. I ended up losing power for 9 days. It wasn't as bad because, like I say, I've dealt with hurricanes before in
Hmm.
August in Louisiana and not having power and you're just burning up in a house. This year, the weather wasn't too bad. It was like in the 60s that week, like the mid
Hmm.
60s at night. So it wasn't really hot. It was just kind of an inconvenience.
Yeah.
But I didn't get any flooding, which
That's
I
awesome.
was happy. So I'm like losing power, losing my mice. That's nothing. All my snakes are safe.
That's
So
awesome.
pretty much, other than going through that, I wasn't able to feed my snakes for 2 weeks because I didn't have power. But snakes are pretty hardy. As long as you got
Right.
them watered, they'll be good. So I feel like I came out pretty good because I expected a lot worse.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. And now, did you? Is this the first um, I don't know, emergency that you've had to deal with since you've been keeping animals, or
Yeah. Yep. It
really?
was the first emergency. Yep.
Okay, so did you? So good to know that you at least kind of know what to do, and it could have been a lot worse for next time. What are you going to change for next time, if anything?
Next time, I'm probably going to take all my animals with me and just like hit the road.
Yeah.
And because we didn't know it was going to be a direct hit in Cape Coral, like initially they were saying a hurricane was going to hit Tampa, which is like 2 hours north of us.
Hmm.
But as the days went on, like it just kept going south, and then at the last minute they were like it's headed straight to Cape Coral, so it wasn't really anything we
Right.
can do.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I know. And I'm from Louisiana. I'm from Denham Springs, and you were talking about the flooding in 2016. This house flooded 36 inches. So we've had to rebuild all this. This is all since 2016. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Um, Now, I didn't have any animals at the time except for my wife had a cat, and he just came with us. You know, we put I had a 4-year-old, I'm sorry, 4-month old and a cat, and so we grabbed them in our arms and we walked down the road and went to a friend's house and weathered the storm there. But man, I can't imagine having 30 something animals
Yeah.
like and wake up and that's because when we woke up, the water was rising. We didn't know it was going to happen, so horrible. So I'll be probably preparing for that. Now, we also have a generator and stuff too. So when I get into breeding, hopefully that'll help a little bit. But we're glad, like I say, glad you turned out all right. So how did you get into keeping reptiles?
So I've always been interested in reptiles ever since I was a kid. I've had pretty much everything but a snake. I've had like my first. I had a leopard gecko maybe when I was like in elementary school.
Hmm.
One of my best friends had a ball python back when I was in elementary school, which is cool. He named the snake Steve. I actually had a snake named Steve, and I named him because of that.
Hmm.
But like I said, I've always been into it. I've always watched like Animal Planet, National Geographics. When it used to be good, now they don't really show animals on Animal
Yeah, it's
Planet
reality.
anymore. Um, and then like as an adult, like I didn't know how much. I didn't know the amount of like different animals and reptiles people were like keeping until I went to my first reptile expo in Gonzales, Louisiana, at the Lamar Dixon
Hmm.
Expo Center. And I was just, I guess, driving one day and I saw like a sign posted saying like Reptile Expo this weekend. And I was like, a reptile expo. I
Hmm.
was like, that's kind of right up my alley. I didn't know what to expect. And when I went to that first expo, I was just like blown away. Like
Yeah.
I was just used to only seeing like snakes and lizards that were at PetSmart or
Right.
Petco. Like that's all I knew about. I wasn't really on like YouTube watching like content creators that keep reptiles. Like I had no idea. But once I went to that first reptile expo, I got exposed to
Right.
it. And from there, every time I went to an expo, I bought something new. So
Hmm.
like the first expo I bought a scorpion because I've never seen a scorpion in my life.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you can buy those. So I got a scorpion. The second expo I went to, I bought a tarantula. And I
Hmm.
was like, I don't think I'm ready for a snake. And then finally I bought my first snake, which was a Kenyan sand boa.
All right.
And once I got that snake and realized how easy it was to keep them, I just started buying a whole bunch of snakes. I bought a ball python, Mexican black king snake, California king snake, a banded water snake. I just had a collection of just a little bit of everything.
So you started
And
off getting different species then, like you were
yeah,
interested in all of them.
yep.
That's awesome.
And then I ended up moving to Florida and I sold all my animals. And I thought I was going to be done
Hmm.
with keeping animals and everything. But when I moved to Florida, the first week I was there, they had a reptile expo in Fort Myers, which is like 20 minutes from me. And I was like, I'm just gonna go and look, not gonna buy anything. And that's what I did. I just looked, but it just kind of sparked it for me. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get back into reptiles, but this time I'm gonna be specific and choose one animal because I'm like, I'm going to all these reptile expos. Why don't I become a vendor? You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Why
Right.
don't I start breeding these animals so I can be on the other side of it? And so I was like, now I need to figure out which animal that I want. And I wanted something that was small, um, something that kind of had value
Hmm.
in terms of like being able to sell it and also something that didn't have too many morphs to where I would be overwhelmed. That's one of the reasons why I didn't get into ball pythons because it's like, where do you even get started? It's just so many morphs, so many combinations out there. And then like 70 or 80% of reptile expos, all the vendors have ball python. It's like, how
Right.
do you kind of stand out? So that's kind of how I got into snakes.
Yeah, and I'm looking at one day I might interview somebody who's a ball python keeper specifically, and that's something I want to dive into with that person because I don't know either. How do you break in? That seems like a scary market to break into
Yeah.
because you have to know a lot and you have to know all the morphs and you have to be able to buy the stock. And even I was talking to Jen from Knit Hognoses, who's in your Discord, and she was showing me pictures of this insane looking snake that was $300. It's got a name this long, all the different morphs, but it was $300. And then there's like a normal looking one next to it that was like 8 grand. And but the normal one had some rare gene in it. You know what I mean? So it's like it doesn't even track with what you would think. So like, because
Yeah.
there's all kind of crazy ones that are now common, but they've been doing it for so long and they've got so many different morphs and stuff like that. That's just an outsider perspective. I don't know too much about that species to begin with, but I totally see why you'd want something simpler.
Yeah, and if you go on Morph Market, right now it's about 1,500 hog noses posted. If you
Hmm.
go to ball pythons, last time I checked, it was over 45,000 ball pythons on Morph Market.
Yeah, that's
So
insane.
it's like, how do you even
That's
get
insane.
established
Yeah. Well,
being a
it's a
new
great buyer's
builder?
market, though. I mean, if you just like to have them, I
Yeah.
guess, world's your oyster if you want to just buy them because they look cool. So, how did you find out that hog noses fit what you were describing that you wanted?
Okay, so I never really heard of a hognose snake until like I kind of started watching YouTube videos and I moved to Florida. I think Emily from Snake Discovery, she made some videos and I was like, it's kind of an interesting snake. It seems like it stays small and it also can lives on mice. I don't have to deal with rats. But I never saw one at a reptile expo. And then I went to an expo in Tampa and I saw the booth Jeff Goldblatt, hardcore hognose. He had
Hmm.
he's a hognose breeder. He was the only breeder at the expo that was just hognose snakes. And I got to look at them, and I was like, you know what, this may be the snake. I like the keeled scales, just how they look, and they stay small. So I was like, let me do some research on this. And I started doing research, and I just got obsessed with it. And then I told myself, next time they have a Tampa or Orlando expo, I'm going to buy a hognose. Like, that's going to be the first table I go to. And that's what I did. I went and bought my first hognose from him. And then once that happened, it was just an obsession, trying to learn as much as I could about them on Morph Market all day, Fauna Classifieds, King Snake. I got Kevin Rhodes' books, his Morph Guide, which was really helpful for me to actually learn the morph names and the morph combinations, what they look like. And so I was like, that's kind of how I got into that. And then creating a YouTube channel to kind of make myself stand out for when I started selling snakes, and just putting hognose content on YouTube, because a lot of the stuff that I wanted to look for, like, what does this morph look like nobody was putting it on YouTube. Compared to like ball pythons, if you want to know what a certain ball python combination look like, you just type it on YouTube and somebody's made a video about it. But it wasn't like that with hognose snakes.
Oh yeah, and another thing too is that, I mean, even with the best camera equipment and stuff, it's nothing quite like seeing it in person. You know. Now you keep Easterns as well as Westerns, but I'm assuming that you started with Westerns, or how did that go?
Yeah, I started with Westerns, and I don't know, just doing research, I ended up seeing a Eastern, because you really don't see Easterns for sale, not even online. And so I got a pair of those. Hopefully I can breed them this coming year. But yeah, they're cool species of hognose. They're definitely different from the Westerns, but they still have a lot of similarities as well. I just like the colors of them, and I feel like they're more unknown, especially in terms of like their colors. A lot of because they come in all different colors, but I think it's like locality based. I don't think they're from like recessive genes. The only recessive gene I know of are albino Easterns, and it's not that many people that have them. So I feel like it's a potential. I feel like it's potential with them. It's hard to get them to eat mice, and I don't think it's only one breeder that I know of that consistently like breeds them. But other than him, I feel like if you want to put the time into it, I feel like somebody could actually become like a real big Eastern hognose breeder. I see a lot of potential with them.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think the hognoses in like the Westerns have a lot of potential still, and they're still kind of young in the hobby, like compared to ball pythons, which have been done for like 40 years, 50 years. But the Easterns, I think, are particularly, there's a lot to discover there. I love how like dark they are. You know, I like the real dark pigmented Westerns, and then the Easterns are like, some of them are just black. You know what I mean? Completely black, and they have like the orange belly. Looks awesome. So, but they're more rare and are harder to keep. Are you having a hard time keeping them, you find, or
no? Like mine are very good eaters. It was initially hard to get them on mice. I had to. It's a little tricks. You'll learn once your collection grows. You're going to deal with picky eaters, and you're going to try everything you can, and you just learn tips and tricks to get them to eat. But once they start eating mice, they're no issue at all. And like some people that keep Easterns, they say you should only feed them hairless mice, or you should supplement like Reptilinks and stuff like that. But like my two, I've only fed mice with hair on them. I don't feed them large meals, but they're growing really well. I've never had issues with them pooping or anything like that. And only one of my Easterns will eat Reptilinks.
Okay.
So I tried to vary her diet, but she doesn't want them. She only wants mice. So got to do what I got to do.
So you're looking at spring for your first attempt, or have you attempted to breed them before?
No. So yeah, this coming year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's exciting. I'll be definitely looking out for that. And what kind of projects do you have on your Westerns right now that you want to talk about?
Okay, so this year I had 3 clutches hatched out. I bred my Arctic Conda to an albino, and she ended up laying 2 clutches. I got normals, Arctics, Arctic condas,
Mm-hmm.
all 100% het albino. You bought a female from me
Mm-hmm.
from that clutch. And then I also had this normal female. She was my second hognose I ever got. I think she's Arctic. I bred her to a hognose. I don't have him anymore. His name was Steve. He was an anaconda, het, sable, and albino.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to prove out he had a possibility of being Arctic. She had a possibility of being Arctic. I wanted to see if I can hit a super Arctic if I got lucky.
Yeah.
She ended up laying all infertile, slugging out. She had one fertile egg, but it was really weak and it ended up passing away. It didn't fully develop.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had my lemon ghost Woma, and I bred that to my granite jungle that I got from Kevin Rhodes, and I produced that amazing clutch with the Womas and these yellow snakes.
Oh yeah.
Some of them could possibly be Arctic as well, because I think the granite jungle is actually Arctic. And so I got a clutch of 15 from her. She didn't double clutch for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that was this year. Next year, I'm gonna repeat the granite jungle and lemon ghost Woma. That's one pair. The Arctic Conda female, I'm going to breed her to my Arctic Conda Het Mai Tai male because he'll be ready. So hopefully I can produce some super Arctic super Condas that are 50% Het Mai Tai, which is a sable and toffee. He's also 50% lavender. So
oh wow.
I don't know if I'll be able to prove him out though.
Right.
So I got those two, and I have my Eastern. So I have my melanistic Eastern, which is the all black one. I'm breeding him to my orange Eastern. I don't know what colors I'm gonna produce from those. Like I have no idea what I'm gonna get from those Eastern.
Oh yeah.
And then they go through a color change. Like my melanistic one, he was gray and he had pattern when I got him as a baby. Now he's completely jet black.
That's crazy.
And then the female that slugged out for me this year, I'm gonna really try to prove her out to be Arctic. I'm breeding her to my super Arctic super Conda male.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see. I think that's it. Oh, I'm sorry. And my last parent will be my 100% het leucistic. I'm breeding her to my 50% het leucistic male to try to prove him out. So hopefully, pop out at least one or two leucistics.
Yeah, you have to roll the dice on that one, but that would be awesome. So I've been seeing on Instagram you've been showing the ones with the that kind of olive coloration. I saw, I think it was yesterday, the day before, you had a post with that as the snake gets older, it's got more of that green going on. Which one is that from?
That's actually a sibling to the female you have.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, mine has a little bit of that green, but not quite like yours. Mm-hmm. That one that you're showing that does.
Yeah. So, like that snake, I had it listed on Morph Market as a normal because I wasn't 100% sure. Some of them you can tell that they're Arctic when they come out. Especially, I find that Arctic Condas is easier to tell if it's Arctic compared to just a normal. You can tell because they have really dark saddles and you start seeing that gray in the background.
Right.
This female, she had dark saddles, but compared to some of my other ones that I knew were Arctic, I just wasn't 100% sure. But I knew I would know once she sheds out. And so she just shed out, I guess, 2 days ago, and she looks completely different. Her background is a light gray color, and her saddles are like that olive green color. I had no idea they were going to be green. Like she looks completely different. She looks really nice.
No, it's beautiful. Mine hasn't shed once yet, so I'm kind of curious to see.
Oh, yeah, the change, that second shed, like they shed immediately once they hatch out,
right? And
then that second shed is when you see the biggest change in them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think I see like towards her tail, I'm starting to get like a little like flaking. You can kind of see like I think she's getting close, but not quite yet. Her eyes haven't gone blue or anything like that.
You can really tell the belly will start becoming gray. That's the first sign.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see if she turns. Like after I saw the ones you've been posting, I was like, oh man, mine might change a little bit too. But she's beautiful.
It makes me curious.
As she is.
Like I want to know, like the snakes that I sold. I'm like, I need to reach out to my customers to see if I can have some updated pictures of them.
Oh yeah, well you know me, I'm gonna post it on the Discord and stuff like that too. Justin from Quirky's Clubwood Creation says hi. I just want to say hi back to him. So what have you changed about your husbandry since you started keeping and like since you started breeding? Have you made any big changes to that, or has it just gotten better over time? Or
one of the changes that I've made, well, I can when I first started getting snakes back when I lived in Louisiana, I had like the individual glass terrariums, and for one snake that's fine, but
Hmm.
once you start getting more snakes, it kind of becomes cumbersome because
Oh
you have to
yeah.
get a glass terrarium, you have to get a heat mat, and then you have to get a thermostat for each one. And so getting a snake rack helped a lot because
Right.
all you need is one thermostat. It already has heat tape or
Hmm.
heat cable, and
Hmm.
it just makes things a lot more easy to clean. Another thing that I've changed was the substrate. I started out using like regular aspen. I've also tried hemp, and now I use the aspen sandy
The
chips.
the
Yeah,
chips. Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
that's my favorite so far to use in terms of husbandry,
See,
like the actual substrate.
yeah, I swear I started out. I mean, I had the same thing. I have the glass terrarium and I have regular snake aspen as well. So I've started out like you did, and now I'm watching your videos and I'm watching other people's, and I'm thinking about switching over. Once I get through this bag of aspen, I'm probably going to switch over too because it seems like you've had good success with it. So, do you breed anything else besides hogs right now, or is that it?
No, that's I'm just sticking with the hognose snakes. I bought what 2 years ago a corn snake,
Hmm.
but I'm like I don't really know what to do with a corn snake. I don't really feel like learning all their morphs, and it's like the good thing about hognose snakes, especially when you're on morph market, if you want to see what a sable looks like, you can see what just a sable looks like.
Right.
Or
Right.
if you want to know what a lavender, you see what just a lavender. When you
Hmm.
when you go to like corn snakes or ball pythons, like if you type in like a lavender ball python, you're gonna get a lavender plus three other genes. And I'm like, you can't, it's hard to find a snake with just one base gene. And I found
Right.
that with corn snakes. So I'm like, I don't know. It's just confusing. And also, hognose snakes are so easy to sex. Like you
Hmm.
don't have to pop them or use a probe. A lot of times you can just look at their tail. With corn snakes, you're gonna have to like pop them or probe them. And I'm like, I
Hmm.
just don't want to deal with that.
I want to deal with all that. Um, Yeah, I haven't looked into to corns or garters or anything like that. I get a bunch of snakes out in my yard, so I go outside and look at a snake if I want to see a snake. But I think I'm gonna be sticking with hogs for a while. The problem I'm running into now, because I like to start breeding, if not this coming year, probably the next year. I don't know if I'll be ready or not. But finding a breeding age uh, snake is tough. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it was you or somebody else in Discord mentioned recently that it's recommended to just get him as a baby and then raise him to breeding age as opposed to buying one that is breeding age. What's your opinion on that?
I got mixed feelings. So I find that it's easy to say that when you have breeders already. But when you're first starting out and you're excited about actually producing animals, and now you have to wait 2.5 to 3 years, it's hard to do that.
Oh yeah.
So I would recommend for somebody that's new to get like if you can find like a year old female or like a 2021 female,
Hmm.
and then from there raise her up because then by next this coming breeding season she may be ready. She may be 2 years of age.
Hmm.
Um, if you can find a breeder, like if somebody is selling off like a breeder female, I would just make sure that she's not too overweight. A lot of people like to get their hognose snakes huge, 400 grams
Hmm.
animals. Like I've seen some people get their animals to 200 grams in a year, which I'm like, how do you even do that? Um, that I would kind of stay away from. Like if that animal is huge, I would stay away. You want to get a nice lean animal. But I don't know. I haven't really had I've like my Granite Jungle was already a proven breeder when I got her from Kevin Rhodes.
Hmm.
So and I didn't have any issues with her.
Yeah.
Um and my Arctic Conda, the mother of your snake, I got her. She was a year old when I got her. So she already had some size on her.
Hmm.
So that's what I would recommend. That kind of just probably get one that's like a sub adult,
Hmm.
and then when that snake is of age, you just from your first season you only have to deal with one adult female. So maybe one or two clutches that first year, so you can
Right.
kind of learn how to take care of babies and not be so overwhelmed.
That's true. That's true. I talked to Jeff Galewood the other day, and I reached out to him and said exactly that. It's like, hey, I'm having a hard time finding. Like, I wasn't even asking him for his snakes. I was just saying I have having a hard time finding Where do you recommend? Where can I go? And he sent me back a list. You know him, like he's got hundreds of them. And so he sent me back a list. We got this, got this, got this, and here are all the prices and everything else. I was like, so if I want to spend the money, of course, he's got beautiful animals though,
Yeah.
and they're maybe a little bit more than I want right now. Um, but yeah, he came back with a list like that, and I was like, well, I mean, I guess I could buy from him if I wanted to, but you got to put the money in, and I think that's kind of getting into the business of it. When you started getting into the breeding, was it business at first, or was it hobby at first, or how did you decide where that line was drawn?
Um, when I got my first hog nose, I think it was hobby, but then it became business because I was like, okay, I was looking at the future.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I guess initially, like I bought my first hog nose for $350. I thought that was expensive. My first snake, the King Sambo, I bought for $50, and I thought that was expensive. But once you start making once you get that like first big purchase, whether it's $500 or $600, that's when I think it becomes a business because then it gets easier to spend that money for the next
Right,
hog nose.
right.
And then once you start getting to hundreds of dollars, I think you kind of have to be business minded because it don't really make sense to spend $1,000 on a pet snake.
Right. Now, what you mentioned the YouTube, you said it as if it kind of happened at the same time. Did you do them at the same time? Did you start your breeding business, or did you start Shovel Nose Hogs and the YouTube channel at the same time, or did you do one after the other?
Yeah, so I knew once I made up my mind that I was gonna choose the hognose snake as the snake that I'm actually gonna start breeding. I knew I need to brand myself. I need a way to make myself stand out. So I was like, and I knew I wanted to make a YouTube channel
Hmm.
because I've done YouTube in the past, so I kind of already know how that works. And I was like, one of the hardest things is finding like a name to like what you're gonna name your brand. And initially, I was gonna name it Morph Chasers,
Hmm.
but I felt like, that's kind of broad. Like, I think probably my first video on my channel, I think I did my introductions and I said Morph Chasers. I don't know. I may have deleted that video, but then I was like, that's too broad. I kind of want something more specific to hognose snakes so I can stick with hognose snakes.
Hmm.
And I was watching like a YouTube video. It might have been Snake Discovery, and they were kind of describing like a hog nose using his nose as a shovel. And I was
Hmm.
like, that's perfect. Shovel
Hmm.
nose hogs. I looked it up like on Morph Market to see if any, because I had a feeling somebody took that name, and I didn't see anybody with the name like Shovel Nose Hogs.
Hmm.
So I kind of ran with it, created an email, YouTube channel, Instagram, like all that stuff
Yeah,
using that name. And
yeah. Lock
then
it down.
yeah, and then came up with a logo and all that.
Well, I feel like it also helps, to kind of keep you focused. I'm not. You might want to do some stuff in the future, so you don't want to box yourself in too much. But I mean, it's pretty clear just from the name and from the logo what you do and what you're all about. So, and you mentioned before you were buying corn snakes and boas and scorpions and tarantulas and everything else, and now you've kind of switched over to just being a little bit more specific. So, I guess now you got that branding. It helps to keep the
Yeah.
that laser focus. And the YouTube channel has positively affected the business, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah. Yeah, even like at reptile expos, especially like the ones in Daytona, there's people coming up to me and saying that they watch my YouTube videos, which is
Mhm.
like crazy. I'm like, you are you for real?
That's awesome. Well, I'm literally talking to you right now because I found your channel, bought one from you, and then now here we are. So, I mean, it clearly works if you can, especially in this market, if you can differentiate yourself and you can have something that you're about. Definitely puts you in a unique place, and so that's great branding for you, I think. How
Yeah, I
about
always encourage people to do like YouTube channels because it's still not that many hognose breeders that do YouTube on a consistent basis. And like everybody watches YouTube videos.
Oh yeah, oh
And
yeah.
it's easy promote. It's not easy to make
Hmm.
YouTube video, but it's free promotion instead
Hmm.
of like paying for ads and stuff like that.
So how do you balance between the husbandry and doing the channel? Because the channel's helping the business out, but of course you got to do the business to make the content. So how do you balance those two things?
Um, I try to make. I've been slacking lately. I've tried to make like 2 or 3 videos a week. Um, and that's just to keep me motivated. In terms of feeding, I feed twice a week, usually Sunday and Thursday. I also try to clean water dishes twice a week, like in a dishwasher.
Hmm.
And so I just try to keep everything on like a schedule and being consistent.
Hmm.
That hurricane threw me off,
Oh yeah, no
but
doubt.
yeah, I'm getting back to it. In terms of like making content.
So do you find that just by keeping the animals and doing the routine, and because I know you film your feedings and stuff like that, but you got to do the feedings anyway, so it's kind of like content that makes itself
Yeah.
because you just film it. Do you have any projects on that you're thinking about doing that are more like videos, like an idea that you had that's video centric that you're looking at doing, or?
Yeah. For example, I want to do a video of assist feeding.
Mhm.
Because I got like 4 baby hognose snakes that never eat on their own. And if you've ever tried to assist feed a baby hognose snake, it seems almost impossible. It's way harder than assist feeding a ball python or a corn snake just by the way their mouth is shaped. It's hard
Mhm.
to open their mouth because usually, like with a ball python, if you have a mouse, you just use the mouse's head to kind of pry their mouth open, but you can't do that with a pinky. Like the pinky isn't sturdy enough. And so I have a technique I've practiced. It kind of stresses. I did stress some animals out to learn, but you
Right.
got to learn some
Oh
type of
yeah.
way. So it's a specific technique I've actually, because of those 4 picky eaters, I've actually gotten pretty efficient at doing it. And so I think that'll be a really good video, an informative video, just in case somebody has like a snake hatch out. If you're a new breed, because it's been a lot of new breeders. I don't think Morph Market's ever had 1,500 hognose snakes on a site at one time. So, and I definitely see like a lot of new business names. So I'm sure if you're new in the hognose snakes, you're gonna deal with a picky eater, and it'll be really good for me to post this video just to show how I do it, assist feeding. So
Yeah.
that's one of the videos. I'm also gonna do a video about brumation. Next week, I'm about to start putting my animals in a brumation, going over my protocol with that. And that's probably those are the 2 main videos right
Hmm.
now that are going to be coming up.
Yeah, speaking of information, because you live in Florida, I guess it's Central Florida, but uh, similar climate to where I am in Louisiana. Some people, can brumate just in their basement or whatever else in more northern climates, but I don't know how I would do that here. So I'm excited to watch that video to see in this kind of temperature range what do you do. Um, you want to share a little bit of that? You want to save it for the video?
Yeah, use a wine cooler.
Oh, there you go. Just put them in the
Yeah.
wine cooler. Do you have this is separate from your breeding chamber, the same one you use for breeding, or for the incubation? I meant to say.
No, no. So I have a wine cooler and I also have an incubator.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're separate.
Okay. See, I inherited one the other day. The thing back here is a wine cooler. A friend of mine moved to Germany and he let me have it, so I got one already. So I might have to try that out this
Yeah.
coming
So you
year.
set it so like the first week. So for a week, I'll take them out. I'll get them off of heat. Let them adjust to like room temperature, and then I set the wine cooler at the highest temperature is like 62 or 60 degrees, whatever.
Hmm.
Keep them at that temperature for like a few days. And then I bring it down to 50 to 55 degrees. And
Hmm.
that's the temperature that you brumate them at. And then I brumate for 3 months.
Okay.
And once a day, I'll open up the wine cooler just to have some air circulate through. If I go on vacation, I don't think I ever disclose this in a video, because sometimes you go on vacation and I'm like, I don't want to just leave that wine cooler closed, so I'll actually like leave a crack, actually like fold it up like some paper, like
Hmm.
some just regular writing paper, and I taped it to where like on a door where it closes to where it's like it left a little crack in
Right.
there just so they can have air circulation when I was gone for like 3 or 4 days.
Hmm. Do now other than that though, you try not to take them out full with them at all, or obviously you don't feed them, but you don't take them out and handle them, or do you do
Not
do?
really. My first year I was kind of nervous, so I would kind of check on them, but last year I didn't. I use as a substrate cocoa core
Hmm.
with sand, and I make it moist, so it kind of mimics like how it is in the wild when they go underground, and they don't. That's all they need. I don't add a water dish or anything to it.
Okay. Wow. And it's crazy how tenacious they can be. I mean, they're real survivors, and it's we were talking a minute ago about feeding problems, and I've seen in your Discord and other Discords I'm a part of too, people will pop in and you'll see like the new member alert, and then right away you'll get, hey, my snake's having a hard time eating. You know,
Yeah.
they're and I totally sympathize. They're out there looking for like somebody to help them out, and it's typically feeding problems. In fact, I think it was yesterday in your channel we had somebody say the same thing. Popped in and said, hey, my snake hasn't eaten for a month. What do I do? So that kind of, you talk about the assist feeding. That kind of information is helpful because people out there panic. You know, when their snake doesn't eat, they don't know what to do. I mean, you know, I went through 5 or 6 weeks with Snoot, and she didn't eat, and I was starting to get nervous myself. But she came out all right. It was fine.
Everybody goes through that. You're gonna go through that with hognose snakes. You will get a picky eater. And the good thing is now that if it happens again with like a new snake, you're not gonna panic. You're gonna know what to do.
Yeah.
And you've probably learned some tips and tricks that you can use in the future. So I think it's actually good to have a picky eater at the beginning when you're new, just to have that experience.
Oh no, it's gonna be a luxury when I have one that's just a vacuum cleaner. You know, it's just gonna be autopilot. You know, feed that one last because you know if somebody else doesn't eat, you just give them to that one. So do you have any live events coming up, or are you reptile shows, or have you done any reptile shows?
I think they have a Tampa reptile expo in 2 weeks that I'll probably go to. I'm not gonna vend. I wanted to vend this year. I just don't have enough snakes to sell. So yeah, I usually always go to like the local reptile expo. It's just something to do on the weekends. Get some video. Always like to get new content.
Oh yeah,
and there's like a reptile expo like almost every other month here in Florida. Somewhere in Florida, there's a reptile expo.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I bet there is. Justin says that corn snake was fired. This is from a little while ago. I'm assuming he's talking about the one you have.
Yeah, it was a blizzard corn snake.
Just
didn't know what to do with her. I was like, I don't know anything. I just know that I wanted I was like, I told myself, if I'm going to get a corn snake, I want to get an all white corn snake. And that was my first time ever seeing one at a reptile expo, and I couldn't pass on it.
What wound up happening to it?
I sold her. I sold her to somebody that wanted to breed corn snakes. I was like, yeah, you'll do better with her than I will. I don't know what to do with her. I didn't just keep her.
Right. You probably got enough anyway. You mentioned earlier your significant other just kind of like lets it happen. Does she handle them at all, or is it completely?
She can deal with a baby, but she does not like bluff striking. Like she will not go near my Easterns. My orange Eastern kind of just, because that orange Eastern is feisty. She bluff strikes. Like they don't. And I show her. I'll have my hand in the enclosure and it's not biting, but she does not like the hissing and bluff striking. So she just leaves everything to me, which I don't mind.
Yeah.
I'm like you like a control freak with my hognose.
Those Easterns, I mean, the Westerns do it too, but those Easterns, when they flatten their head, man, it can be intimidating.
Cobras.
Yeah. Those Easterns are particularly fierce looking. All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you talking to me, man. Is there anything that you have coming on your channel, or anything coming up that you'd like to promote for yourself, or?
Well, I'll have some more snakes. I currently have 2 snakes on Morph Market. I'm waiting till they start shedding out to see what they look like. So I'll probably have like 2 more posted on Morph Market, from my Lemon Ghost Woma to Granite Jungle clutch posted pretty soon. I got one that's in shed, and I got another one that is, I'm not sure. He's probably gonna be ready to shed, and they already look phenomenal. Like,
oh yeah,
I can't wait till they shed out. So yeah, that's about it. Definitely I'll try to do those 2 videos pretty soon, especially like the assist feeding, because like I said, that's a real learning process, but I think it can help out. And then in terms of the assist feeding, I do want to mention this. I only assist feed snakes that the babies that have never eaten. Like if I've gotten them to eat before and then they just go off food, I don't assist feed them. I just will offer them. The only time I assist feed them, if like these 4 babies, they've never eaten on their own, and I've tried everything. I'll go down a list of everything I've tried. So I've tried just regular frozen thawed. I've tried live. I've tried braining a frozen thawed. I've tried scenting with the guts of a pinky. I've tried tuna, sardines, salmon, chicken breasts.
Oh yeah.
Reptile links, a Cuban tree frog. I've scented with that Cuban tree frog, and I even tried to just put the tree frog in their face just to see if they would even lunge for it. Like I've tried everything I can think of, and they just they're not interested in now. So the next step is going to be brumating them. And
Yeah.
so and the unfortunate part is 2 of them are womas, female womas. I just posted a picture of one of them, the one that had like the chocolate colored saddles.
Mm-hmm.
That one, I really like that one, but it will not eat on its own. But I'm not going to let it die. Some people are against, I will assist feed twice a week for a year if I have to. Like, I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, they don't. I mean, we're already messing with their instincts a little bit, just by keeping them the way we are. So you got to balance that out a little bit if they're not going to eat. I mean, they got to eat.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? I feel like everything you mentioned, I tried almost all of that with Snoot recently, and what wound up working for me, you didn't mention it, so I don't know if you tried it, is the silver sides, the frozen fish.
Okay.
That's the one that wound up, and I did try tuna, and I think I tried tuna and salmon, and neither of those work, but the silver sides work. And I don't know if it was fish specific, but once I tried that, I put it in with the frozen thawed whenever I was thawing it, and I put both of them. She doesn't like being fed with a tong. She The first 4 feedings loved it. After that, completely went. And since then, I haven't been able to feed her off the tongue. I'll present it, and she don't care. I'll put it down and walk away, and then she goes for it. So there's a lot to try.
Yeah.
So many different. Yeah, there's so many things to try. So I wish there was just like an answer, but I am looking forward to the assist feeding thing. I don't think I'm gonna ever have to do that with this one, but maybe in the future I will. So I appreciate that.
If you breed enough baby hognose, you're gonna get those that just don't want to eat.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right, so I have links to everything that you mentioned in the description. You got Discord, you got your Instagram, a Morph Market, of course, your YouTube channel, all under Shovel Nose Hogs. Anything else that I'm missing?
Instagram, it's all Shovel Nose Hogs.
There you go. Thank you so much, Jermaine. I really appreciate you stopping by and talking to me, man.
All right, thank you.